I was just a quiet intern making copies and carrying coffee when I noticed an elderly man standing alone in our bustling corporate lobby, clearly frustrated as people passed him without a glance. When I realized he was deaf and attempting to communicate, I approached and signed a simple, "Hello, may I assist you?" I had no clue the CEO was observing from the mezzanine above. Before we continue, think about this. Have you ever learned a skill to help someone you care about? Share it in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more motivating stories. Now let's go back to that life-changing Tuesday morning. 6 months ago, I was the most invisible person at Meridian Communications. At 22, I was a junior marketing intern, spending my days making photocopies, organizing supply closets, and trying to remain unnoticed at one of Chicago's top advertising agencies. I ate lunch alone at my desk, took the stairs to avoid small talk, and never spoke up in meetings. I hadn't always been this way. In high school, I had been confident, outgoing, and even popular. College, however, was a string of small failures and rejections that chipped away at my self-esteem. By the time I graduated with a communications degree, I felt like a shadow of my former self. The Meridian internship was meant to be my fresh start, my chance to prove myself in the real world. Instead, it became another place where I felt small and unimportant. The only thing that gave my life true meaning was my little brother Danny. He was 8 and born deaf. While our parents struggled with sign language, I dove into it with a passion that surprised everyone, including myself. I spent hours practicing, watching videos, and attending classes at the community center. Danny motivated me to master something meaningful, something that could make a real difference in someone's life. By the time I started at Meridian, I was fluent in American Sign Language. It was the one skill I truly took pride in, though it seemed irrelevant to my work life. In the corporate world of marketing campaigns and client presentations, my ability to communicate with the deaf felt like a beautiful but impractical talent, like playing the violin in a world that only valued electric guitars. That morning, that changed everything, started like any other. It was a Tuesday in October, and the Meridian building was buzzing with its usual hectic energy. We were preparing for a major client presentation, everyone stressed, hurried, and focused on urgent tasks. I was stationed at reception, organizing materials, when I noticed him. An elderly man, probably in his 70s, impeccably dressed in a navy suit, silver hair perfectly styled, carrying himself with quiet dignity that spoke of a lifetime of success. Yet his eyes held frustration and sadness that tugged at my heart. He was at the reception desk, trying to communicate with Jessica, our head receptionist. Jessica was polite, but clearly busy and growing impatient with the communication barrier. "Sir, I'm sorry. I don't understand. Do you have an appointment? Can you write who you're here to see?" The man gestured toward the elevators, his mouth moving in words Jessica could not hear. Then I saw it. Subtle hand movements, facial expressions, finger spelling. He was signing. I watched in dismay as Jessica turned away to assist another visitor, effectively ignoring him. He lingered, looking lost and increasingly distressed. Other employees passed by. Account executives in expensive suits, creative directors carrying presentation boards, junior associates rushing to meetings. Not one stopped. Not one seemed to notice he needed help. My first instinct was to stay put. I was just an intern with my own tasks. My supervisor, Margaret, had told me my role was to support presentation prep, not handle reception duties. But as I watched his shoulders slump, defeat creeping into his posture, I thought of Danny. I remembered how it felt when people ignored him, when his deafness made him invisible. I made a choice that would alter my life. I walked to the reception desk, heart pounding. The man looked up, weary, expecting yet another person to dismiss him or rush him along. I took a steady breath and signed, "Hello, my name is Catherine. May I assist you?" The change on his face was immediate and striking. His eyes opened wide with surprise and relief, a genuine smile spreading across his features, the first real smile I had seen since he entered. "You know sign language," he responded, his hands moving with the smooth grace of someone fluent for decades. "Thank goodness." I was beginning to worry no one here would understand me. "I'm so sorry you've had trouble," I signed back. "How can I assist you?" "I'm here to see my son," he indicated, "but I'm unsure how to reach him. I don't have an appointment." Then he gestured toward the young woman at the desk, Jessica, who was busy helping someone else. "What's your son's name?" I asked. "I can help you locate him." He hesitated, and I noticed a complex mix of pride and uncertainty cross his face. Finally he signed, "Michael Hartwell." My heart nearly stopped. Michael Hartwell, the CEO of Meridian Communications, the man listed on the building directory, whose corner office spanned the top floor, whose rare appearances in public spaces caused staff to tense. "Mr. Hartwell is your son?" I signed, trying to mask my astonishment. "Yes," he confirmed. "I know he's extremely busy, but I happened to be nearby and thought I might see him for a few minutes." The vulnerability in his expression was clear. He was trying to appear casual despite the importance of the visit. This was a father wanting to see his son. "Of course," I signed. "Let me see what I can do. Would you like to sit while I make some calls?" I guided him to the comfortable lobby seating, keeping him in view so we could continue signing. Then I faced my first challenge. How does a lowly intern arrange a meeting between a visitor and the CEO? I started with Mr. Hartwell's executive assistant, a formidable woman named Patricia, who guarded his schedule like a treasure. When I called her extension, her voice was crisp. "Mr. Hartwell's office." "Patricia speaking." "Hi, Patricia, this is Catherine Walsh from the intern program. I have a visitor in the lobby who says he is Mr. Hartwell's father and would like to see him if possible." There was a pause. "His father?" "Yes, ma'am, an elderly gentleman, well-dressed, waiting in the lobby." Another, longer pause. "I'll need to check with Mr. Hartwell. Please have him wait." "Of course, thank you." I returned to Mr. Hartwell, Robert, as he had introduced himself, to let him know we were arranging the meeting. While waiting, we conversed through signing, and I discovered Robert Hartwell was one of the most fascinating people I'd met. He shared his career as an architect, designing several buildings that now define Chicago's skyline. He spoke of his late wife, Michael's mother, a teacher at the Illinois School for the Deaf, the challenges of raising a hearing son as a deaf parent, and the pride he felt in Michael's accomplishments despite seeing him less than he wished. "He's always been driven," Robert signed, his expression blending admiration and concern. "Even as a child, Michael sought to prove himself. I'm proud, but sometimes I worry he forgets to slow down, to just be." As we talked, I noticed other employees glancing our way, some curious, others annoyed. Jessica at the reception seemed puzzled by the sign language conversation in the lobby. 20 minutes passed, then 30. Patricia called back. Mr. Hartwell was in back-to-back meetings and wouldn't be free for at least another hour. Disappointment flickered in Robert's eyes, though he tried to hide it. "Perhaps I should return another time," he signed. "I don't want to intrude." "You're not intruding," I assured him. "Would you like to wait a bit longer? I can show you around the building. The upper floors have beautiful artwork." His face lit up. "I'd love that. I haven't seen where Michael works." And so began what would later be called the most unauthorized building tour in Meridian Communications history. I should have been organizing presentation materials, making copies, updating spreadsheets. Instead, I spent the following 2 hours showing Robert Hartwell a thorough tour of his son's company. We began in the creative department, where I introduced him to several graphic designers and copywriters. Most were courteous but visibly occupied, offering brief greetings before returning to their tasks. A few, however, showed genuine interest, especially when I explained that he was an architect who could appreciate the design aspects of their campaigns. I interpreted conversations, helped Robert grasp the work being done, and watched his face brighten with pride as he learned more about the company his son had built. Next, we visited the account management floor, where Robert was captivated by the client relationship strategies. We even paused in the break room, where he shared stories of coffee shops he frequented in his younger days. Throughout the tour, I was painfully aware that I was neglecting my assigned responsibilities. My phone buzzed repeatedly with increasingly urgent messages from Margaret, my supervisor, asking where I was and reminding me of the tasks I was supposed to handle. But each time I looked at Robert's face, seeing the curiosity and joy in his eyes as he explored his son's world, I couldn't bring myself to cut the tour short. It was in the marketing analytics department that I first noticed him. Michael Hartwell was on the mezzanine overlooking the main floor, partially hidden behind a pillar. He watched us, his father interacting with employees, me translating conversations and facilitating connections. From that distance, I couldn't see his full expression, but his posture suggested he had been observing for some time. My heart raced. The CEO was witnessing me giving an unauthorized tour while I should have been preparing presentation materials. I was likely about to be fired, and certain Robert could face trouble for disrupting the office. Yet, when I glanced again, he was gone. We continued the tour, visiting conference rooms used for major client presentations, the library displaying award-winning campaigns, and finally the executive floor. Robert showed particular interest in this area, asking about decision-making and leadership structure. Michael built all of this, he signed, looking around the polished executive suite adorned with original artwork. Yes, I confirmed. The company has flourished under his guidance. Everyone here respects him greatly. Robert nodded, but something wistful lingered in his expression. I'm proud of him, he signed. I just wish... What do you wish? I asked softly. I wish I knew him better as an adult. When he was young, we were very close. But as he grew older, especially after his mother passed, he seemed determined to handle everything alone. He stopped asking for help, stopped sharing concerns. I believe he thought my deafness made me fragile, that he needed to shield me from his burdens. My heart ached for both of them, for Robert, who clearly loved his son but felt shut out, and for Michael, who had strived to be strong and independent, inadvertently creating distance. It was nearly 3 p.m. when we returned to the lobby. Robert's scheduled meeting time had long passed, and I saw him beginning to accept that he wouldn't see his son today. Thank you, Catherine, he signed, hands moving with heartfelt gratitude. This has been wonderful. I feel like I understand Michael's world so much better, and I've enjoyed getting to know you. You remind me of my late wife, her kind heart and her way of making people feel seen and valued. It's my pleasure, I signed back sincerely. Despite anxiety over neglecting my duties, the afternoon had been among the most meaningful I'd experienced at Meridian. As Robert prepared to leave, I noticed Margaret approaching across the lobby. Her face was tight with barely contained anger, and I knew consequences were imminent. Catherine, Margaret said sharply. I need to speak with you now. I turned to Robert to explain, but before I could sign, a voice behind me interrupted. Actually, Margaret, I need to speak with Miss Walsh first. I turned to see Michael Hartwell himself. He was tall, likely in his early 50s, with the same intelligent eyes as his father, and an aura of calm authority that clearly explained his business success. Yet his expression held something more, emotion carefully restrained. Mr. Hartwell? Margaret stammered, surprised. I was about to discuss Miss Walsh's absence from her assigned duties today. She was supposed to. She was supposed to help my father, Michael said quietly, never breaking eye contact with me, which she did beautifully. The lobby seemed to fall silent. Margaret's mouth opened and closed without sound. Robert looked between his son and me, comprehension and delight growing. Dad, Michael signed, his voice softening for the first time. Then he turned to his father, signing slowly, with effort and care. I'm sorry I kept you waiting. I didn't realize you were here until he paused, glanced at me, and then continued signing. Until I saw you with Catherine. I've been observing you two for the past hour. I haven't seen you this happy in years. Robert's face shone with joy and surprise. You've been learning sign language. I've been trying, Michael admitted, his hands moving more fluidly now. I should have started years ago. I should have made more effort to communicate in your language instead of expecting you always to adapt to mine. Father and son embraced right there in the bustling lobby, and I felt tears well up. Around us, the office's usual pace slowed as people paused to witness this unexpected reunion. When they separated, Michael turned to me. Miss Walsh, could I speak with you in my office? There are matters I'd like to discuss. My heart raced as I followed him to the elevator, Robert walking beside us. Margaret had vanished, likely processing what had happened and considering how to handle the fact that her intern had just been personally requested by the CEO. The executive elevator was silent except for the soft hum of the machinery. I kept glancing at Robert, practically glowing with happiness, and at Michael, whose expression was unreadable yet intense. Michael's office exceeded my expectations, floor-to-ceiling windows offering a breathtaking view of Chicago, elegant furnishings that probably cost more than my yearly salary, and walls lined with awards and photos documenting the company's success. Yet what struck me most was the impersonality of the space, how little of Michael himself seemed present. "Please sit," he said, gesturing to the chairs before his desk. Robert and I sat, and Michael chose the chair next to his father, rather than behind the desk, a small gesture that made the conversation feel far more personal. "Miss Walsh," Michael began, "I owe you both an apology and an explanation." I looked at him, puzzled. "An apology, sir? I should be the one apologizing. I know I was supposed to work on presentation materials and instead—" He raised a hand to stop me. "You did exactly what you should have, what I wish more of my employees would do." He paused, gazing at his father with a mixture of love and regret. "My father has visited this office exactly 3 times in the 10 years I've been CEO. Each visit he was treated as an inconvenience, a disruption. Each time I watched from a distance as my own employees, people I pay, who represent my company, made him feel unwelcome in his son's workplace." Robert reached over, touching his son's arm, signing something I couldn't fully catch. Michael nodded and continued. "Today was different. Today I saw a 22-year-old intern abandon her duties to spend 3 hours ensuring my father felt valued, respected, and included. I watched her translate conversations, facilitate connections, and treat him not as a burden, but as an honored guest. She gave him something I haven't in years, the sense that he belongs here. I felt tears welling in my eyes. "Mr. Hartwell," I signed quietly, "I have a younger brother who is deaf, and I know what it feels like to be ignored, to feel invisible. I couldn't let that happen to your father. And that," he said, "is precisely why I need to talk to you about your future here." My heart sank. This was it, the polite letdown before termination. "I understand if you need to let me go," I whispered. "I know I neglected my assigned work today." Michael looked genuinely astonished. "Let you go? Miss Walsh, I want to offer you a position, a real job, not an internship." I stared, sure I had misheard. "I'm sorry, what?" I asked. "What I witnessed today revealed something missing in this company, a true commitment to inclusion and accessibility. We speak of diversity and inclusion in our mission. Policies exist in our handbook, but we don't live it. We don't embody it. I want to change that, and I want you to help." Robert beamed, signing rapidly to his son. Michael smiled, signed back, and turned to me. "I'm creating a new role, Director of Accessibility and Inclusion. You would ensure Meridian Communications is accessible to employees, clients, and visitors. You'd develop training, create policies, and advocate for those overlooked. You'd report directly to me." I felt dizzy. "Mr. Hartwell, I'm just an intern. I have no experience in HR or policy. I haven't even finished my degree. I'm still in my last semester." "You have something more valuable than experience. You have empathy. You see people as individuals, not obstacles. You have skills that could transform this company." He paused. "The position comes with a full salary, benefits, and authority to enact real change. You'd report directly to me." I looked at Robert, who was practically vibrating with excitement, then back at Michael. I don't know what to say." "Say you'll think about it," Michael suggested. "Take the weekend, but I hope you'll accept. This company needs someone like you. I need someone like you." The remainder of the meeting blurred into a whirlwind of details about the new position, discussions of salary and benefits that left my head spinning, and planning the cultural changes required throughout the company. By the time I left Michael's office, my life had been completely transformed. Robert hugged me goodbye, repeatedly signing his thanks. "You've given me my son back," he signed. "And you've given him something he didn't even realize he was missing." Michael accompanied us to the elevator, and as the doors closed, he said, "Catherine, thank you for seeing him, for understanding what truly matters." That evening, I called my parents and then Danny, trying to explain everything that had occurred. Danny was the most excited of all. "You're going to help other deaf people at work?" he signed during our video call. "That's amazing! You're going to be like a superhero for people like me." His excitement was contagious. By Monday morning, I had already decided I started my new position the following week. My first assignment was to perform an accessibility audit of the entire building and review all company policies. What I discovered was both discouraging and motivating. Meridian Communications, like many companies, had good intentions but limited real understanding of what inclusion meant. Over the next 6 months, I implemented sweeping changes. Visual alert systems were installed throughout the building. ASL interpreters were brought in for all company meetings and events. Accessibility guidelines were created for all marketing materials and client presentations. Most importantly, mandatory inclusion training was instituted for all employees, beginning with the executive team. The sessions were eye-opening for everyone involved. I invited speakers from the deaf community, including Robert, who shared his experiences and helped staff understand the consequences of their actions or inactions. I taught basic sign language classes during lunch breaks and was amazed by the eagerness of participants. Margaret, my former supervisor, became one of my most enthusiastic learners. "I keep thinking about that day," she told me after a session. "I was so focused on urgent tasks that I missed what truly mattered. I don't want to make that mistake again." The changes extended beyond accessibility for the deaf community. We addressed mobility challenges, visual impairments, and other disabilities, partnering with local organizations to ensure inclusive hiring practices. Even the website and marketing materials were redesigned to be more accessible. But the most profound change was cultural. A company once centered on efficiency and productivity began valuing empathy and inclusion as core principles. Employees started looking out for one another in ways they never had. The lobby, once a place where visitors like Robert were ignored, became welcoming, treating everyone with dignity and respect. 6 months after that pivotal Tuesday, Meridian Communications received a national award for workplace inclusion. At the ceremony, Michael asked me to accept on behalf of the company. I acknowledged all who embraced change, but emphasized that it largely belonged to a wise man who taught me that the most vital business skill isn't closing deals or managing budgets. It's recognizing the humanity in every person you encounter. In the audience, Robert beamed with pride, signing applause. Next to him, Michael smiled, and the bond between father and son had been restored. They now lunched together every Friday, and Michael had become fluent enough in ASL to converse fully with his father about business strategy, family stories, and more. The shy intern who once felt invisible had found her voice by helping others find theirs. I learned that sometimes the most powerful action is simply noticing someone overlooked and choosing to truly see them, valuing them as the human being they are. My little brother Danny now visited the office regularly, confidently interacting with employees who had learned to sign just for him. Watching this never failed to move me. He was right. I had become a kind of superhero. Not wearing a cape, but fighting for a world where everyone belongs, is seen and matters. The most remarkable part? It all began with a simple hello signed to a lonely man in a busy lobby. Small gestures can create enormous change. One person willing to notice and care can transform not only someone else's world, but their own as well. This story is a testament to how a single act of inclusion can impact lives and reshape entire organizations. What do you think of Catherine's choice to abandon her tasks to help Robert? Share your thoughts in the comments. If this story inspired you, show your support with a like, subscribe for more uplifting stories, and click the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.